you don't, I record these calls. Were you aware of that? That I record the screen, and I don't think I can actually, that anybody can hear your voice. The last time I recorded one, nobody could. So it's just the screen, my mouse, and the information, but I may post this stuff publicly, just so that you're aware. Okay. All right. So let's get started, Duke. So I'm looking at an Oahu website. Before I make any assumptions, a really good way to utilize my time is if you have any online marketing goals that you're aware of, then it would be good if you shared those with me. If you're not sure of what an online marketing goal is, I can run you through like some common digital benchmarks, and you can decide if you want to talk about any of those things. Okay. Okay. This is you. Okay. Okay. And I'm sorry, what was the second? I got to the first. What was the second objective? It was a more difficult one. Well, okay, so those are really super broad goals. Um, let's try to narrow it down a bit. So which island are you actually on? Oahu? Okay. Um, okay, so would you mind if I kind of steered the conversation a little bit? Because I've done a lot of business over the years on the islands, and I can tell you that just trying to specify a goal and saying that you want to be found for different searches on different islands, it's really difficult. There are guys and people that I've done business with that have spent 10, 50, $100,000 getting to the top of positions, not even for the entire island, but just certain communities on the island, depending on what you're talking about. So saying that we want, right. So saying we want to do all of that is probably not constructive. But what can be constructive for our time together is we can start to try to have a discussion about areas that you would like to focus on that would be really, really highly profitable should you indeed dominate the search engines. So in my experience, is it safe to say that you're a new realtor? How long have you been in real estate? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna probably have a number of different recommendations with you, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to keep asking some questions and making sure that I understand you. I gotta let you know I cheated before our consultation. I looked at how long the website had been live, so I kind of had an understanding that you might not have been a realtor for a super long time. In addition, your website isn't connected to. Oh no, there it is. But all you've done is connected your website to the basic uh, MLS board on the islands. Is that correct? It's a lot. It's a lot. Of the ones that you just mentioned, though, I'll let you know that the only one that I know to be working on a limited level is Curator. So I'm gonna tell you in advance that Duke, you want to be super, super careful before you decide to spend money with anybody. In my experience, which is now 10 years, most of the real estate technology that's out there doesn't work, and certainly doesn't work the way they say it does. And the very small handful of technology, including Curator, by the way, that does work, actually requires a lot more energy and effort from you than anybody's going to tell you up front. Nobody's going to say, yes, to make our platform work, you're going to have to invest an additional 10 or 15 hours of your own time. But if you do invest that time, then it's going to work for you. And then they won't also tell you, which will be really super frustrating for you, if you spend that 10 or 15 hours, what kind of return can you expect? And keep in mind, this is probably something you've already spent thousands of dollars on. So you spend your thousands of dollars, you don't get the leads that you were promised. Instead, you get a homework assignment, and then you're supposed to determine if you're flushing good time after bad money. Does that make sense? So hopefully I can help with a little bit of that, and help you, point you in a direction. So far I've discovered quite a few questions that we've got in this call. So one is, it's going to be really helpful for anybody if you narrow down the area that you want to work in. And that includes all these people that you might call, like whether you hire a curator or whether you get your own website. So let's start there. Where do you actually live on the islands? Oahu? Okay, so you're in the main. Okay. For the sake of my conversation, it's not actually tricky. For you, it's tricky. So I'm going to ask you a few more questions, and my objective with these questions is going to try to help you. This may very well be some of the best advice that you ever get, but my goal here is for us to find some low-hanging fruit that you can actually get a result in if you specialize. So in other words, let me try to be a little bit more specific. If you tell me that you wanted to go for Honolulu real estate, you would have to have a budget of $100,000. I'm going to guess that you don't. Okay? But if you told me, for instance, that you wanted to specialize in Ala Mona, or if you wanted to specialize in, then all of a sudden the conversation changes dramatically. All you probably need is a couple $100 and a blog. Do you see what I'm saying? So depending on what we're talking about, and of course you have a Chinatown, which is horrible for real estate, but what we want to pick is we want to pick a division or a neighborhood or a subdivision, or if I remember correctly, and it's been years since I've done like one of these consultations, but doesn't Honolulu proper have some really nice luxury high rises that you can buy units in, or am I misremembering? Okay. So having said that, so you starting to understand the direction that I want to go, right? Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about you. So in terms of your personality type, um, and let's just say that you're out walking down the streets of Honolulu. Is there a particular type of person or people that you like to have conversations with? And let me break it into some categories, like tourists, small business owners, maybe compatriots of yours if you're a graduate of a school or something like that. Is there anybody that you really like to spend your time with or find interesting when you do happen to run into them and have conversations? Okay. Are you rehabbing? How are you finding your investments? And what? Okay. All right. So you're deep into this and you like talking about it. Okay. Um, Are you the stuff that you're buying and you're rehabbing? Is it strictly single units or is it multi-unit? Okay. Um, okay, so that is a niche. It's a little hard to target, but it's not impossible. So a niche could be somebody looking to buy investment property that is looking to rehab it on the islands. The question would be, why wouldn't you do it yourself? So then we might have to think about that. Like, because if you're identifying that you're an investor, but you're representing an investment opportunity, another way to look at that is you could be seeking investment partners. But whatever the answer to all of this is, this can't be a single niche. It's really probably not high enough volume to make a business brand new out of. Um, but it is a niche. I don't want you to think that we didn't just find a niche. We did. You can absolutely dedicate some pages on a blog, and I promise you there is not much competition out there. So you actually could have a reasonably high expectation to get some traction online, especially if you wanted to do some video. So I'm going to give you a 5-minute marketing strategy for what you're already doing. So you are currently, right now, you have at least one rehab that you physically go to. Is that correct? Or you look at properties, you walk into and examine properties, or is it all online? Okay. Okay. So one of the ways that you don't have to spend a massive amount of time becoming a professional blogger, but you can do very well online, is you can start to film these things. You can take a camera, you can take a video, you can basically you can express some thoughts out loud as if you are dictating notes, and then you can post that to Instagram or you can post that to YouTube. And believe it or not, these types of videos actually gain a really nice audience. So it's not even a waste of time. You could build an entire reputation just off this strategy if you wanted to, and you can then transfer it to your website and then build a small blog post around it and have a reasonably high expectation of getting some online success. So that's your 5-minute marketing strategy right there. Video, where and how you can apply it, is a really strong way to go in today's world of the web. Okay, so having said that, let's still try to um, my advice is post it. I know that you've been watching some of my YouTube and Instagram stuff, and they're far from professional. My hair is messed up. Half the time I'm doing them in the morning. I haven't even had my cup of coffee yet, so I am not looking great. But you know what? If you're an expert, if it's a piece of content that you like nobody can find anywhere else, it doesn't matter. And waiting or trying to wait until, like, I'm a single entrepreneur and I wear about 90 hats and I work 16 hours a day. Okay, so I don't have the time nor the staff to do professional, like, preparing. And I think that you're probably in the same boat. Don't get stuck waiting for something to happen. If you are not able to avail yourself, then you just want to do it. You want to learn through kinesiology. You want to learn by doing. You just want to do. You'll get better over time, and people will forgive you. And that, by the way, is what Gary Vaynerchuk did. You know, he had just terrible, terrible social presence, and he did say that he had wished his brand was better at first, but now the guy has a 600-person marketing agency. So obviously, it was just better to do it. You know, just better to go out there and do it. Okay. So neighborhoods in Honolulu. Let's take a look at some of these on the screen here for a second. And here's what our basic choices are. We can look at subdivisions, which is, I like types of housing. I like geo-specific areas because it's really hard to lose Google ranking once you have it. So if we go with neighborhoods or subdivisions, Like that's something that is like if we go with the military base, we're at the discretion of the military. They could move the base, they could shut it down, so you could spend years getting up and then all of a sudden it can go away. So that's a little tough in my opinion. Like this went Fort Shafter, which is probably not even a real fort, but whatever. Let's say it is. Um, it like one way or the other, if the audience here is mostly military, that would not be my first choice. Even if I, there would have to be some extraordinary circumstances like you are in the military or were in the military or you're in the reserves. And if all those things are true, then yeah, you'd want to go for Fort Shafter because you could speak with a type of authenticity that very few other people had because you were actually a comrade of the people that exist in that neighborhood. So that's what I'm looking for with all these other neighborhoods though. Like any type of affinity. Are you a lifelong native of the islands or are you a transplant? Um, have you resided in any of these neighborhoods with any length of time? Is there a reason why Makiki wouldn't be a target for us? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a down and dirty trick that I do when I'm like when somebody pays me to basically do all this stuff for them. Oftentimes I'm going to use some cheats because I've had a lot of agents that have money but have no interest. Like they don't care what I do. They simply want a result. And that's been the vast majority of my career. So I oftentimes am figuring out the best targets for them. Certainly one of the tools which may or may not be good for the islands, but one of the tools that I use is city data. And all I'm looking for is the amount of homes that are being bought and sold, how many people are there, what their median age is, comparing it to the median age of the broker or the agent in charge, and just trying to make some basic assumptions about, like, do I think they'd be effective? And if the answer is yes, okay, we also want to, whoops, no, that was wrong. TripAdvisor is a sneaky way that I do to research areas because you have a lot of people that are traveling to the area and they blog about it inside of TripAdvisor. So if you wonder how a guy who's sitting in a chair in California can become an expert on something, you just simply go through here, you read TripAdvisor, and you find out what people who are in the area for the first time or for many times are saying about it. All right. So this is telling me the zip codes, giving me a map. Population's 13,000. This is a sweet spot for you. I'm guessing you're early 30s. Okay, so actually you represent the median age of the area. Income is good. Okay. It doesn't take me very long. It takes like 1 minute, maybe. But it does look like my Kiki is a decent target for us. So let's go ahead and make the assumption that that's going to be one of the neighborhoods that we target. Okay. Now, I'm assuming that you would probably. So we opened up this conversation. We're 20 minutes into it, and we've still got a few topics that we could that are left to cover. So here's what I recollect. You're trying to figure out if you want to go with a long or short-term strategy because you've probably read enough of my blogs to understand the difference between owning your own website or purchasing one that somebody else owns and basically leasing it. Is that correct? Okay. So the question becomes this. Do we want to buy something from somebody else that we're going to get locked into but it's going to have a high lead conversion rate right out of the box for an area that you want to target? Or do we put up a website that's going to be a longer, slower build, but you're going to own it, and it's this same difference between owning and renting a house? Yes, you're going to have to repair it, you're going to have to put in some work, but at the end of your career, or 10 years from now, should you want to move into something else, you can absolutely positively sell a well-performing website for a reasonable amount of money. And I've sold them from anywhere from $60,000 to $250,000 and beyond, actually. So traffic and real estate websites have a value. And it's one of the only ways that I know of where you could put an investment in marketing dollars into something and then actually get a second layer of return out of it given enough time. The problem is that it is going to take a while. It's going to take like 6 months to a year at a minimum for you to really start seeing a website perform well. Now, we could set up lead generation funnels off Instagram or Facebook and turn them on and have results in days, not years. But a website is a long-term investment. So that's the question that faces you. I don't know what your budget is, and I'm a businessman, so I don't actually make any assumptions about what you should or shouldn't do. I'm giving you the information. It's up to you to decide to look at what you feel like your resources are and what direction you want to go. I will tell you that if you had the wherewithal, to me, it is a no-brainer to put in the work, time, energy, and effort into your own website. If you're certain that you're going to be in real estate for longer than 3 to 5 years, to me, it's the only way to go. I would do it no other way if it was my money and my business. But if it depends on how much time and energy you have. Honestly, yes. The answer is yes. If enough time and energy, you could get the same result. A super Now, I'm not familiar with the template that you're using right now, so I'm actually going to move to another one, but it looks fine and there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't get leads off a website like this. So there is, like, in terms of, you'd have to install like IDX Broker, and I have no idea how well it would integrate into this particular template. Probably not all that well if I had to guess. But this right here will not get you leads. So, right, exactly. So I just don't want there to be any misconceptions or misconstruing. So um, a so here's the template that I use. Okay, so when I'm doing like really like when I'm dealing with new agents on the very few occasions that I decide to do business with them, because most of the time I want them to be, actually they have to be business owners, they have to have a budget, there has to be a lot of elements in play for me to even take somebody's money that is a new real estate agent. But this is what I use. This is the theme that I use. It integrates seamlessly with IDX Broker, and IDX Broker can easily be set up to build leads. Now, I have free videos already online about IDX Broker and how to make that, like how to set that up so that it will generate leads once you've installed it on the site. So if you could get the site up and running yourself, or I think these guys charge a couple $100. I charge more, just so that you know. Like, you want me to do it, it costs more. And I'm not saying that I'm giving you more. I'm just saying I charge you more. So you can do one way or the other. You can get this template, and then you can put it online. Um, uh, yeah, this is on WordPress. IDX Broker will slap a plugin into the site for you. I'll show you what it looks like. This one is one that I built for an old client of mine. Okay, actually, she since sold this one. I'm sorry, I'm showing you in the wrong way. But I'm going to show you two versions of the same template. So this is sold to Long and Foster. And she did exactly what I recommended that you do. We built the site up over years. She never spent more than $500 a month with me. And when she was ready to sell the business, she actually got every penny that she ever put into it back and more. So she spent nothing on advertising over the length of her career, at least not online. Other types of advertising, yes. There's a problem with the loading and I don't like it. But anyway, this is a site that I put up for the same client. These are both the same template, just kind of done in slightly different ways. Okay. Well, actually, these are content pages that have been produced on top of search results. And this is all done with a widget. And actually, hold on. I will really quickly show you what that widget looks like. Have you worked on WordPress before? Okay. One of the very, there's a whole bunch of platforms I've never used. I could honestly spend the rest of my life using different web platforms, Wix, and they go on and on and on and on. This is so here's the IDX plugin. Okay, and this is the place where the pages exist. You will have to spend about 20-30 minutes learning how to make these pages, but you do it all from within WordPress. So there's just one platform that you're sitting there and you're using, and you're creating your search pages just like the ones I showed you, and you're doing it all from within the dashboard of your website. Now, it's not on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm not going to tell you it's a 1. It's more like a 3 or a 4 because you are going to have to do a little bit of breadcrumb searching, but it is a reasonably good solution for a DIY guy, and I don't feel like you're going to have to spend your entire life doing it. And I do know that I can vouch for how SEO effective the platform is once it's live. And that's my challenge with other platforms. Like if you said, how good are Weebly websites? The answer is I don't know. I've never seen one rank before, and I have no idea what types of plugins they have, what type of SEO plugins they have. These are all super important questions when you're talking about a web platform. So I'm not familiar with it, thus I cannot give you any good advice. I can tell you I've made these types of websites rank many times in some of the most competitive markets in the US. So if you were to ask me the same question about this particular theme, then I can answer that question. I can also say that this theme right here is the same theme as the one we're looking at, and it still ranks for some great search terms in this area. So in terms of the one thing I am going to caution you on, though, this is a little high. So you do get a slightly better deal up front, but long term, just hiring somebody outright and having them build it for you is going to be cheaper, because they're going to lock you into their $99 a month thing, and that's expensive. That's double what high-end hosting is. That's twice the price. And I don't know that I feel like the support is worth it. So that's just a little, that's why my client built the site with me, even though I'm much more expensive. But honestly, I'm not trying to convince you to do that. She's known me for years. You have not. So I don't know that I would go the route of actually working with somebody like me. But she did. But I hosted her for the entire year for free. So that $99 was not there. And that was whatever, $1,000, $1,200 for the span of the year. And I'm hosting her on the best WordPress platform that there was. So you gotta look at all the factors before you, whatever it is, you finally make your decision. If you are gonna go with it and you are gonna focus on SEO, you do want to make sure that you are not using Bluehost and you are not using a low-end hosting provider. You want to use somebody high-end. I use WP Engine. You can look at them. And the reason for all that is that site load speed, all those things become super important if you decide you want to try to compete for SEO positioning. Okay? So we've got an area that we might target, Mikey Key. are you getting any clearer on whether or not, because I'm trying to figure out how to spend the rest of our time. Are you getting any clearer on? Okay. The one thing I can and I will kind of like make an offer to you about is that I am what's called a developing partner with IDX Broker. Um, so there is a charge with them, and it's been a little while since I've looked at it. But the last time I looked, it was either $30 a month or $60 a month to use IDX Broker. Now you can sign up directly with them, or you can sign up through a developing partner, and the cost remains the same. There is no difference to you, the person spending the money. However, the difference is, who do you get supported by? Like, who, when you have a problem, do you send an email to? Now, you can always send an email to IDX Broker, so actually you're not removing them from being a service partner. They just hit up your developer if you send in a service request and you don't send it to the developer themselves. So basically, you can get 2 support systems for the price of 1. So if you want to do that, I will give you my developer code, and what I will do is, I'm kind of a 24/7 person. I will create some IDX Broker tutorials for your virtual assistant. I will basically act as the go-between between you and IDX Broker, because their one issue is their support is slow, super slow. It can take them days to email you back, and it's a pain in the ass. So you can add a little bit of a cushion between that and them by listing me, and I get $10 a month. So it's not free. I get 10 of the dollars that you're supposed to be spending, and you don't spend any extra money. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a win-win. Okay. Okay. So then all right, so we're going to do a website and IDX Broker, and now the big question. How do you have any interest in trying to get leads online, or were you going to did you have another lead generation methodology, or what were you thinking? Okay. So in terms of lead generation, there is a lot of different choices that you can make. Now, building a website, putting SEO on it, and going that route, it's going to take a while before you see leads come in that way. So once we have that website online, that's definitely something that we want to start utilizing. And one way or the other, we're probably going to have to use paid advertising to jumpstart any lead generation. Now, the advantage of having your own website versus purchasing an out-of-the-box product from somebody else is that there is inherent value in driving somebody to a destination. Somebody else gets that value if you're using their product. You get that value if you're using your website. So it's worth your time as a entrepreneur to build a landing page, even if it's not the very best landing page, but still it's your landing page, and then put it on your website. So my advice is going to be, let's design a couple of pages on IDX Broker once the website is live, and then drive traffic to them. If you wanted to get leads today, we could do that, just so that you know, so that you're aware. There are ways that you can get leads. We could take a listing off the MLS. I could show you how to market it on Facebook, and you could start getting leads like tomorrow or the next day. There is no magic with Facebook. You just need 1 or 2 plugins. And by the way, there's guys out there like Grant Wise, and they're going to charge you $5,000. And all they're going to do is teach you how to build a couple landing pages on Facebook and then advertise on Facebook. That's it. That's the secret sauce. So be very careful and very aware. And if you need to use my information, don't like, don't spend $5,000. I'll teach you the same thing for $300. Like, you don't need to spend $5,000 to learn how to build a Facebook landing page and then drive traffic to it. So okay. Um, what Facebook does, so we could actually use that Facebook business page. All right. We could create a listing on that page using the tools that are already there. And then we turn that into a promotion. And then we can look to capture phone calls. Like, we could say something nice about the site and we could capture phone calls. Now, what Real Geeks does is they add a kind of pop-up window. So you have a few pictures on one screen, and then when you try to click on the pictures, you get a lead capture form that says, to see more information on this property, you must now give me your information, like a lead capture form. We can set up the same type of thing. I would need to probably do some research on what the absolute best type of tool would be right now to do that with, but that's the whole concept. I've just given it to you right there. That's 100% the lead strategy. You take a lead from someplace else, like a home, a listing. You then advertise it on Facebook. You get really clever about the markets that you're targeting. And I would have to probably actually coach you about markets, but that would be a fairly small amount of time and investment on your part if you're interested in doing that. But one way or the other, or you can research it, because honestly, there's no secret sauce. It's just you either spend extra of your hours or you let somebody who already knows what they're doing coach you, and that's it. End of discussion. You could find everything out for free online. You could just spend a few extra of your hours and save yourself the money. So, but what we want to do is we want to target the market, the audience, which is going to be, if you take my advice, it's going to be Waikiki. We're going to start there. So we're going to start with this particular neighborhood, and you would start with zip codes. That would certainly be one of the audiences that you would target. So now your ad would be served up to everybody on Facebook that was within that zip code, that was logging on. And then we would also take it a step further. We try to do some research and see if there's any areas of interest or anything in here in this area that people might be a fan of, like pages or groups or anything. And if they are, like, let's just say that this is a street, like a famous street. There might be a Facebook fan page somewhere out there for this neighborhood or this local sightseeing thing. And if there is, we can then advertise to that audience. All the people that are logging in, that have said that they're a fan of this thing. And that's another way that we can target on Facebook. Facebook, once you understand what you're doing, is hyper-targeted marketing. We could literally just serve your ad up to anybody in Waikiki if we got, like, with a little bit of time and energy. And then that's it. And then if they want to see the property in question, they have to click and do it. Now, here's what my experience though is with this type of lead generation method. It's generating a low to medium quality lead. Your conversion rate is not going to be that high, but you will have an inbound lead. It will, like, if you go through the numbers, for every 30 leads, you'll probably have a real prospect. So, and it'll generate, like, I don't know what the cost is in your area, but historically, when I do Facebook campaigns, it's costing about $1.75 for every person that is submitting, or may actually anywhere between $1.75 and $5 for every person that's submitting a name. So by the time you're getting a qualified lead, you're probably looking at $200 or $300. But that, to me, if you get 4 or 5, and I'm saying qualified, I'm not saying a looky-loo, I'm saying somebody that wants to buy a piece of property, has the money to do it, and is interested in Waikiki. So at that point, if you're any kind of salesperson, you should be able to convert 1 of 3 or 1 of 4 of those. And the last time I was paying attention to Hawaii property, the average property price was about $500,000. Is that still the case? Okay. So it's for single family. So the math makes sense. So the math actually makes sense. The acquisition math makes sense. So which is the last thing that I always coach people on, Luke, or Duke, sorry, is acquisition math. So we want to make sure that whatever we think the cost of acquiring the lead is, that it's going to make sense versus whatever your commission is on the back end. So in this particular case, even if I'm wrong, let's say the market's hyper competitive and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and it's going to take you 10 leads to convert, that's $3,000 in terms of cost using the math I just gave you, then we're still looking at a lead that would absorb, because you're making on your end a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 commission. And we're still looking at a number that ultimately makes sense as long as you have a marketing budget. So, yeah. So that's the way that I would go. There's one final thing that you shouldn't overlook. You're watching me. About 2-3 weeks ago, I decided to kind of start my Instagram account. I had never marketed it nor posted any content there, but I actually had been meaning to for a long time. And the only reason I hadn't is, as I've already told you, is I'm already trying to run 2 businesses and I'm working insane hours. So it just never made it to the top of my priority list. But I finally got some information from one of my associates in the real estate business who works with Joyce Ray, and says that basically she thought that Joyce is actually closing deals off this, and Joyce sells like $30 million estates. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, if she's getting to a place where she's closing business of that size off Instagram, and she's in real estate, I need to pay attention to it. So I started building up my Instagram following, and the reason I'm talking to you about this is that I've already gotten 3 people that have reached out to me directly through Instagram. So I think it's far more effective than I probably give it credit for, and you can build an audience here for a fairly small amount of money. So, and it connects directly to Facebook. So you can actually do your Facebook marketing through Instagram if you wanted to. So that would be the last thing I would recommend, and that's what Joyce does, by the way. So, and I strongly believe that, like, she's been in business for 30 years. She's a multimillionaire in her own right, way beyond that, actually. I know this person. There's no way in this or God's green earth that she's going to be wasting her time on a strategy that's not making her money. Just none. No possibility. So here's, like, she's using every form of type of posting, collages, all the things. She's advertising listings. Like, she's actually going on here and announcing, like, her a listing, like, to come see it. So in terms of what you really? Hmm. So there's a few things that I would suggest to you there. So one, you can hire and train a virtual assistant and you can build an audience. 2, this is actually a service that I am looking to kick the tires on. I have already trained a small team, and so far I like what they're doing. It has been extreme, but I haven't used it on a real estate client. But it's not that expensive, and I believe the result would be anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 new followers per month with high quality content, and the cost would be about $300 a month. So if you have any interest in exploring a outsourced solution, and I think I'm highly underestimating, like highly underestimating. I'm probably using bad math because I think that they're going to do way more than that for me. I mean, right now I'm getting 200 or 300 new followers per day, minimum. So, and they're managing the account properly. They're building up the audience, then they're getting rid of it, and they keep, like, my audience keeps growing. The only thing that I'm doing that you may not be doing is I am adding some of this content that you see, and it is getting a lot of play, like these videos that I'm adding, things like that. So I don't, that's the one mystery, is if you're not adding videos, you're not adding highly valuable content, maybe your account wouldn't be built up the same way. But it's just a thought, something for you to consider. You can email or message me if you have any, if you decide that you want to circle back around. But honestly, you can also train a virtual assistant, and the cost would be about $200 to $250 per month, according to what my numbers are, which is a $6 an hour assistant that speaks English, because I don't use people that I can't communicate clearly with. So so your premium would be very minor if you decided to experiment, because I'm basically telling you almost exactly what I pay. You'd be paying a small amount for me to manage the team, but I'm super curious to see what they would do with a real estate client. Like not. No, so this is all based on how you're targeting your market. So for me, it's real estate people, but for you, it's going to be like my key, and I would have to go through and figure out what all the right keywords are for your account, which is of course something that you do get. Like if you used me, you would get that. So what I'd be trying to do though, because I'm not going to try to hide anything from you. What I'm going to try to do is get into your general demographic. So my key might be too specific. 9,696 posts is not very many. So now maybe I go into Honolulu. And now we're talking 2,750,000. So that's too many, but it doesn't matter, because that is certainly a hashtag that we want to use. So now we're talking about, see, and this is why Instagram is so powerful, because this is all lifestyle advertising that we're looking at here. So we definitely like whether, because if anybody's using that hashtag, they're interested in the area. Now, we want them to be interested in our area, but nonetheless, we're going to use, you can use up to 30 of these every post. So we want to use 30 on each and every single post. And part of what a marketing team, or whether it's you or anybody else, we want to be using all 30 of those for every post that you do. And we're going to be doing two separate things. So even if you didn't like, you don't need a massive amount of content on your site, but I subscribe to having content on all your channels. I am a big believer in creating a personal touch and feel. But this is 1-minute videos. Takes me 10 minutes to make them and post them. It's super fast. So then each one of these has 30 hashtags on it. Not in the video itself, not here, not inside the post, but in the first comment. And then you get in front of all these people. Okay, what my team does, which is different, is they go and they follow the audiences that I've told them to follow. Now, I seriously have no idea who that would be yet, Duke, for your, because I would tell you. I'm not a guy that hides anything. I just don't know who it would be. But who we would want is like Honolulu entrepreneurs, Honolulu businesses. So let's just see here. Because we want someplace where people are successful. You know, we want to, let's see here. Let's do this. Let's find out what we get. So this is a location on Instagram. Now, let's do Honolulu luxury. There's 42 posts for Honolulu luxury, 18 for Honolulu luxury cars posts. That's not it. Food. This might be one. Here's what I would look for. I'd look for high-end lifestyle followers. And what I mean by that specifically is there's a certain amount of hobbies and interests that people who are basically upwardly mobile like focus on. So fashion, style, it's not, obviously this isn't an exact science, but those are the kinds of places that I would start. And I would go through the hashtags. The hashtags show you the pictures. You look at the pictures and you decide. But what I'm looking for you or any other account is I'm looking for 30 to 60 hashtags. And we're going to market to that group of hashtags consistently. So whatever we decide that those hashtags are, we're going to keep posting there. And that's going to drive the people that are using those hashtags to your Instagram page. And then once they're at their page, what we need to have it do is we need to have a landing page connected to it. Someplace that basically has an information capture. Now, I just finished this from my website, and I finished it because my Instagram is doing so well, but I wasn't set up properly. So I was just directing people to my blog, and I was getting about 10 to 15 visitors to my blog every month off Instagram, and they were spending a ton of time on my blog, like 5-10 minutes a piece, which is crazy for the web. And then the page that I've designed now is this one. So it's really long. It shows people I've worked with, and then it shows examples of the work that I've done for them. And then it shows why I started a blog so they get to know me a little bit better. It shows some of the big blog posts that I've done. And then all the way down here at the bottom, it gives this, you've already watched this video, it shows why I'm doing a free consultation, and then it shows an example of a consultation. It shows somebody that I've consulted with giving me a video testimonial, and then the calendar. Because the only thing I'm really marketing right now is my time. Like I don't really have like a product or a service, and I absolutely don't want to sell anybody that comes to my website. I don't want just anybody to sign up. I'm super particular about the people I do business with. So I don't want any of that. So the only thing I can really do is say, I'm willing to get on the phone with you and have a chat. And then, so that's my landing page, but we should do something for you. And it could be like, what's your home worth? Do you want me to come out and look at it? I love the direct approach. I'm a 25-year vet of being a salesperson. I don't want to let them go. Like I want a chance to meet them or talk to them or something. Like I want to develop a relationship. So are you there? Hello? Hello? Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So anyway, I would maybe even, like I said, I might use the Instagram channel to go for the rehab stuff because that's super specific. We could create a single landing page on your website and we could actually see a return. Like I like things that make us money. Like I like things that it's not going to take you forever. That's my only problem with SEO. I am like the biggest SEO evangelist that you will ever meet for any business in the world. It's just my only problem with it is it takes a lot of time. So in terms of other strategies, like, okay, so we're not going to do SEO. Let's start talking about something where we can get some leads in like now and make some money tomorrow because that's the only thing that makes sense for an entrepreneur. Like, especially if you're like taking that deep plunge into a new business and it's all coming out of your pocket and not coming back in. So I'm going to say, Instagram and maybe your rehab. Um, you, if you decide to go that route. And it's also really easy to look at the hashtags. It's going to be super low volume. The content that you could create for your Instagram channel will be really exciting because you could take photos and pictures, and you can also have yourself looking at property prospects. You don't even have to be buying them. You can just say, I'm going to look at this property. And then you could do a 1-minute video on how you look at the property, and Instagram would eat that up. You kidding me? All the kids and millennials on it wondering how they get into your business? They'd love that. Um, so we got about 4 minutes left. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? So for a website like this, like the one that we saw, I would charge you a flat $1,000. If you decide to do any kind of marketing work, I do think that you're an interesting candidate. If you decided that you were going to use me for Instagram, I would host your website for free. And I would probably give you that for a year. I'd put it on my WP engine, and you'd get to skip the going out and seeking your own hosting environment part. And I would build the site for you. But that would only be if you're going to do some kind of work with me ongoing, where I could basically, a lot of what I do, I'm trying to do research. And you'll see a lot of my videos where I'm logged into platforms and stuff, and I've made deals with those people. I'm not really charging them for my time per se. They are, however, giving me unfettered access to those platforms so that I can blog about them. So that I basically can do the in-depth research and put that post onto my website. And I would be doing the same thing with the Instagram, to be super clear with you. Like I would say, this is what I'm doing. I'm building a process. I'm looking at it as a service. It would be very transparent. And what are the results? And if hopefully they would be in line with like a really super profitable investment. That's what I want. Um, and in, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. So it's $1,000 for the website, but I'm going to host the website for free. So I'm going to build it and host it. So, but I'm going to host it for a year as part of that price. So but the condition to that is you're paying me the $300 from Instagram. If you really want to look at the math, really, I'm taking the $50 I was going to make out of the Instagram and I'm applying it to the hosting. That's it. That's really what I'm doing. I'm not really making any money off you. It's a break even for me, but I am super curious about I want to know what's going to happen. In terms of the rest of it, here's what my rates are. I generally charge about $100 an hour. With you, and based on what little I know of you so far, one of those ways that you might be able to leverage me and have that make just a ton of sense for you is coaching. So I do online coaching, and what I do is I don't publish the videos publicly. I do an hour's worth of time. I capture the video. I turn all of that over to the client, and now they have, like, on any topic that you care to mention, I can talk to you about blogging, link building a website if you wanted. There's really nothing that I can think of that I have not already done in the real estate business. I've built out IDX systems. I know how site architecture is supposed to work. There isn't a topic that I am familiar with that you couldn't bring to me, and I probably couldn't coach you up on it and save you anywhere from, just hours and hours and hours worth of your time. Your choice is always, you can go out and read it and do it yourself, or you can cut that time down, and with the recorded version, like, you basically have a permanent, like, online book. And then last but not least, I could charge you $100 an hour. If you wanted to go the full route, like build your website up, fire and forget, we would start with a neighborhood, and I could charge you anywhere from $600 to $1,000 a month. And what I would do for that is everything that's required for SEO. I'm going to extend the time a little bit because you're asking me questions about services, but the way that we would have to do that, just so that you're aware, is we'd have to start with a hyper-local presence, which is 50 to 100 local online digital directories. We'd put your website in all of them so that we'd give you a local presence, so that when somebody did local searches, such as Honolulu realtor, Google has different search packets. They've got different algorithms based on what you're searching for. So one of those is for hyperlocal searches. That's anything that you're looking at right here, anything that's connected to a map. Are you still looking at my screen? Well, Google Maps is one of many. So Google is looking for something that are called citations. A citation is how many times is your business and your business address listed. And if you have enough of those citations, they may put you in this very small search packet. Now, what we want is we want you to be one of the top 2 results so that you're here. That is a very sneaky way, without using SEO, to get onto some of the first pages for major searches, for major highly trafficked searches. but there's a methodology to it. So the first thing that I would do is I'd set you up to the methodology. In addition, these directories also impact SEO. They give you something called backlinks and signs of credibility. Since you are a realtor and Google already understands that for that kind of business, you should have like a digital signpost. So the more of those digital signposts that we have and the more reviews we have connected to those signposts, the better situated that you are going to be as a realtor. So the first thing I do is I build that out. And then what I would do is I'd start doing blog posts, and that would be monthly. And I'd do one or two. They would not be as high quality as the ones on my site, but they would be probably 750 to 1,000 words with anywhere from 5 to 10 images and 10 to 25 outbound links to credible sources such as Wikipedia, just super strong sites. Because Google looks at the sites that you're looking at as signs of credibility. And then I would then do what's called second and third tier link spinning, which is a really fancy way of saying that once you have that content on your site, the way that you get attention from Google these days is to have the right kind of anchor text and to get other people to blog about your blog post. And I do have all of those teams and networks set up for real estate. So I'd basically make it fire and forget. You can learn how to do all of this yourself. You can. But you are, and I'm not over embellishing, looking at hundreds or thousands of hours of your time. It would take you weeks and months to become, to get down everything that you need to know in terms of being like a true SEO expert. I, who have been doing it for 10 years, am still learning. So it is somewhat of a complicated topic. The good news, though, is that that's an expert. To be an amateur, you don't need all that. You could just start posting great content on your site. You could hand that over to me or somebody that knew what they were doing. And honestly, we could then manage it to such a way that you could probably see some good ranking. An example of that is, so here's a site that I'm just doing some internal linking. This guy already gets a huge amount of traffic to his site. Like we're talking 6, 7, 8,000 people per month, or 30,000. My bad, 30,000 people per month. But he could be getting triple that. So because his information is organized very poorly. So an example of that is actually this isn't going to make much sense, I don't think. And I didn't use Ahrefs on your site because there isn't much to look at yet because it's a new site. So I didn't actually reverse analyze your site because I already knew that there wasn't going to be much for us to look at. So here's an example. So this is saying that he's got 2.1, but really he has much more. And then you start looking at top pages, and his internal linking is all off. Like he doesn't even want to be ranked for this page. This is not one of his targeted neighborhoods. Yet it is like his second to best page. So he's just been posting really great content. I'll show you what that looks like. And he has had a lot of success. So you could do the same thing. But you could, just like with him, I'm telling you, like I could then triple it. Like if you come to me and you have 6,000 visitors, and you could just do the same thing. He's just figured out how to do posts and graphs, and he's got these data providers that allow him to do these things that are based on snippets and show all the homes that are sold. And he does really well off this. Just this. Super well. Like he's got 20 people that work for him. So you could do the same thing. You don't need a guy like me. All you'd be doing with me is you'd be cutting corners. You could just learn how to be an excellent blogger. You could have me, for a few $100s, I could teach you how to be a good blogger instead of thousands. And then you could learn how to blog yourself, learn how to take photos, learn how to upload the content, learn what a good headline looks like, and you could do all that. So I hope, did that answer your question? I hope. Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on what we're coaching on. I mean, if your goal is leads, then we probably want to to focus on like some landing page slash Facebook marketing stuff, and that would probably be 3 or 4 sessions. But you're not doing them all in a row. Depending on what the topic is, I probably would kind of bill you half upfront, half in like. So let's say we know that it's going to take 4 hours. Those 4 hours are going to spread out over a month or 2 months. So we're not delivering those 4 hours all at once. I don't know that I'm going to want to charge you $100 at a crack. It's just not like enough to bother. So I'd probably do 200 and then 200 when we're done. Something like that. Like, and then we do 4 or 5 sessions over the span of a month or two. And that, honestly, Duke, is more based on you. It's not based on me. It's like, how much do you think you can learn? And how quickly do you think you can absorb it? And how much time do you have? And if the answer to those things is I'm a fast learner, I can absorb quickly, then we're going to do a session once a week. If it's going to be no, I don't learn so fast and I don't have a lot of time, then it's going to be we're probably going to schedule for once every other week, and see if that's even too quick. Maybe once a month. Like, it just depends. So coaching is really up to the student. It's up to you. Like, how much can you absorb? When can you absorb it? What type of time do you have? Because you do have to apply. And I don't want to do so many sessions in a row that you lose sight of the original. Now, if you're a fast learner and you have a lot of time and we're recording the sessions, yeah, we can do them 4 in a month, and that makes a lot of sense. Because then it's just like you can refer to the library. But if you're looking for lead, that's a good question. So I don't have a preferred service. So let's just see. Let's see who comes up. So basically, these are just all coaching sessions that are telling you how to build a page within Facebook. What I was looking for is not a how-to. I was looking for a something that maybe there are some systems out there that plug directly into Facebook, and they're like, drag and drop, and that's what you'd pay more money for. I think I would have to do a little bit extra research to see if those options existed, because I already know how to create a Facebook like advertisement page within Facebook. So if we're using Facebook and we're building a landing page, really, and we could do it as one of the coaching sessions. So actually, I think the answer is it would be built into the cost of the coaching if we're using Facebook. Now, if there turns out that there is another page out there that does integrate into Facebook, which is what I would look for just to see what the difference is, then that may be a cost. That may be some kind of cost. Now, in terms of your budget for Facebook, I believe that I don't believe, I know. I usually coach people to do 250 to start. That's what I would do. I am super conservative. Like, here's what I'm trying to do, Duck. This is my system, and it should be the system. Like, you should revert to a system and detach your emotion from it. I want to get 100 responses. That's what I'm looking for. Will $250 give us that 100 responses? I am not sure, but it's a good place to start. It has before. Of that $250, I'm looking to see what those people did. If I got anything, any names and numbers out of that $250, that's a system for me to consider. If I spend $250 and we don't have anything to show for it, we go back to the drawing board. That's the way I look at it. My experience would be that that we would probably get something like that we'd have something to work with. Now, whether or not it's enough, that's another question. Now they're going to set it up. I will service it. So setting up IDX Broker can be an extremely time-consuming process. The virtual assistant is gonna set that up for you. However, I will set up the lead capture functionality within it, and that is something I have videos online for. So that's not actually setting it up on the site. That's setting up the mechanism of how you generate leads. I will do that for you as part of you just signing up under my developer code. So that's a zero cost thing for you. There's no extra money out of your pocket. You just, yeah, that's it. Correct. I'll send you a follow-up email. I'll send you a recap and a quote. I have a question for you, and I illustrated it in all these videos that I did. So far as yet, based on the time that you spent with me, have you found my advice, my consultation, has it been helpful? Okay, so good. Right, right. That's true. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to send you probably 3 separate follow-up emails. The first is going to be shortly after this phone call ends. I'm going to be asking that you go onto Google and review me. It should take you less than 5 minutes. And all I'm asking you to do, and I do give you some bullet points, but essentially it's just simply, did you find talking to me valuable or not? I'm not asking you to say anything that you wouldn't feel inclined to say. And then I'm going to send you a second, and it takes a little longer because unfortunately the video takes time to process and transfer. But I am going to send you the link to the video that we filmed. I don't know, again, I don't think we can hear you. So it's going to be me talking, but I filmed myself. You can see a little picture of me. Hi. And I just waved at you. So you can see me throughout this entire conversation. If you remember your questions, you can then basically have like footnotes from this call. And then last but not least, I'm going to send you a recap and a quote. Now I know you said what direction you're in, and I'm not trying to encourage you not to go that direction. I am, however, going to list the services that I quoted you so that you have a permanent record. And you can just file away that email or refer to it, and the email is just simply going to be called recap quote. So all you got to remember is it was from me, and it said recap and quote, and then you'll be able to look at it forever. And when you're ready on the coaching side, just email me. Just say I'm ready, and I'll send you an invoice. We'll work out the details past that point. But that's what you have to do to like engage me is just send me some kind of email saying I'm ready. But I suggest you let me send the recap first, and that way we have the details written down. All right, Duke, I really enjoyed meeting you. Thank you so much for your time. All right.